I am going to call the meeting to order because we have a quorum, which includes Susan and Rick, Bob and Steph, Todd, and Mark Kresge. And pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open space meeting law and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Hubbardston Open Space Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with the right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via Zoom. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website a comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. There we go. That's the logistics. So the meeting is in order. We'll start with the minutes which Rick sent around to everyone. Is there any discussion on the minutes?
The only correction I had was to add the Boy Scout Logan, add his last name, which was Day, which I will make.
Mark is saying something. Mark, you must be muted.
No, he just.
Were you saying something, Mark?
Oh yeah, we can't hear him.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Mark. We can't. Todd, you can hear, right, and talk?
Todd's on mute, but he's his own mute.
Oh, you want?
Mark,
Unmute.
not on mute, but we can't. You're not on mute, but we can't hear you.
But Todd is.
Todd, you're on mute.
Okay, how
There
about
you
now?
go.
Aha! All right.
That's Todd.
Maybe Mark just has to plug in his speaker again.
Or getting a separate mic.
Anything interesting on your webcam or the camera outside? Trail cam, Todd?
Got a bobcat a few days ago.
Oh, cool.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, if you could send the picture around, I'd love to see it.
I will. And also a saw-whet owl.
No way!
Oh,
Little ones,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Teeny tiny?
very cute.
Well, I wouldn't say teeny tiny compared to owls, teeny tiny.
Maybe
I picked one up off the road. Yeah, I picked one up off the road once. It was still alive, but it had flew in front of a car, probably trying to catch a moth. Something got hit. It was still alive, and I brought it to a bird person, but it didn't make it. But yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the owl doing on the trail cam?
Well, there was a sort of a stump sitting in front of the camera. And I had seen an owl flying by earlier, so I sort of aimed the camera at that stump, and he did come and land on it.
Ha!
Neat.
Cool.
A
Hi,
selfie.
Mark.
Mac's gonna come in via a different avenue, I think.
He's going to use his iPad.
What luck that was that you you aimed it at that stump and an owl landed on the stump.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising. I haven't checked the camera lately, so I have to go out tomorrow and.
What do saw-whets eat? Do you know what sound they make?
No.
I've heard that it sounds like saw-whet, or that their name is like their sound.
I'll tell you what it sounds like, because we heard this strange sound way out back from our property. This is like 2 or 3 years ago or more. And we thought there was a piece of equipment back there.
Backing up.
Backing up.
Yeah.
And
Really?
And then I looked up, just trying to describe what the sound is like, and that's the sound that Sawettes make. It's like a tractor or some other piece of equipment going in reverse. It's like a beep, beep, beep.
Maybe
How's
it's
that sound?
what?
Steph does that better, but Mark, you with us?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Right.
Yo!
All right. I had to upgrade to a new computer, and the microphone doesn't seem to be working.
Oh,
Okay.
no.
So you were having, so we were at the stage of minutes, and you sounded like you had some.
No, question
It
about-
looked like you had some comments.
Yeah, on the Scout event. What the hell was it?
The boy's last name.
Yeah, I already gave that to Rick. There was something. Oh, I know. It was Logan's rank that he was doing this for was Life Scout, not Eagle.
Oh, okay,
Life Scout?
got it.
What's life? Is that above Eagle?
Below.
Right. Right below Eagle.
Okay.
Interesting.
Any other comments on the minutes?
Nope.
All right,
All right, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion to accept the minutes.
Steph moves to accept the minutes. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Todd second. Todd seconded. I'll do this in reverse again because I can hear everyone. Do I hear any objections to accepting the minutes? Hearing none, I'll consider the minutes approved unanimously.
okay, I'll make those corrections and get them out to everybody so you have the updated copy.
Yeah, and I should have said that the minutes as amended during the meeting. Okay, treasurer's report.
Okie dokie. Of our 3 accounts, the rider is still at 4,191.32. The most recent activity, of course, was 1,500 on the Height Brothers. The open space expense is still 248.34. The most recent activity were the 2 signs and the Malone CR, so that's sort of ancient history. The trust account, though, as of last meeting, it was 10,598.23. And then in November, we had a deposit of 2,420.50, which I assume is hay.
Yeah, that would have been aligned with the conversations I
Yeah,
had with
with
Lance. Yeah.
Lane, that's what I was thinking. Which brought it to 13,1873. And then in December, there is a credit of $86.15, which I'm thinking, okay, that's definitely not hay. I'm guessing it's interest, but I know in math, you don't guess, right? But before, our quarterly interest was like 214. So I still have to follow up on this, but at least it's not negative, it's positive. So that brings us over to 13,000 again, 13,104.88. So that's where the trust is at this point.
You mentioned that as a trust. That's Hubbardston Preservation.
A
account.
preservation trust,
Oh, okay, yeah. It's not a trust account. It's a Hubbardston Preservation account.
right?
That's a nice number to have in there.
Well, yeah, I mean, we were down to 10 and now we're back up to 13. So that's good.
They do call it trust.
Yeah. Hubbardston Preservation Trust.
Okay.
We get interest.
I don't think we need to vote on that. So that's information that goes into the record relative to old business. Update on the Fieldstone CPA request. And I know there's been some activity on that. So I'll let Susan and or Steph take over on that.
Go for it, Susan.
Well, actually, it was one of the most productive meetings because the neat thing about it was there were requests in 3 different categories. And we were able to go ahead with 20,000 for the Habitat for Humanity, in addition to the 50 that they're using for a larger broader scope in housing. And then the library, nobody from the library showed up, but they had good projects too, but it wasn't like a gigantic amount. It was 20 and 30, 20 and 10,
20 and
right?
10.
20 and 10, right. And then I'm sitting there thinking, I've looked at the capital projects. Did anybody else have a chance to glance at that I sent around, maybe a week or so ago? No, okay. That's all right. You didn't have to do your homework because
I just put you down as an F, but that's okay.
well, because talking with Ryan and he's doing his job, he was just giving me kind of a heads up. And I appreciate that because we were talking about, we have quite a bit of debt service between the 3 more payments on the library, that's 60,000 plus, maybe 64 or something. And then the 150 coming up for the remainder on the playground. And I thought, how are we going to do this? Well, we got to the nitty gritty. Fieldstone Farm was the last one to be talked about. And looking at the numbers that we got from Kelly, I had been saying, well, we don't want to make more debt. And then Sanda, bless her heart, I even told her I'd give her a hug if I could, but I couldn't over the computer. She said, well, if we take 25 out of the open space bucket and 50 from the undesignated, we don't have debt and we can just take care of it if it goes through and warrant. And I was just elated because it makes sense to me. It doesn't do us good just sitting there. So it was approved and that's our first big hurdle, but the next one's the biggie, the town meeting. So
Yeah.
Any questions or comments or helpful ideas?
Can you just send around an update periodically on what the current balances are on the various reserve accounts and CPA?
I think that's a marvelous idea. And yeah. And yes, because you can go to the ledger and you can see what's encumbered and you can catch up on the various smaller things like we have for open space, but you can't find the pots. I haven't been able to.
Can't find the what?
The open space designation allocations. I don't see that anywhere. I haven't said specifically, okay.
I think it is in the annual report. But,
It is, but by the time you get there, and then you're talking fiscal year, calendar year, did the state,
Right.
and this year the state's match didn't come in till later. It was supposed to be in November and it didn't happen until January 2020. I mean, that's why
the state.
your suggestion to stay on it monthly or even occasionally.
No.
Oh yeah, I think monthly. I'll do it because
Well,
because we also want to, Kayla, bless her heart, did a spreadsheet for the debt, spreading out, say you do the 150, because otherwise you lose track of where you are. And the numbers are meaningless unless they're in context. So yes, that's a great idea. And now I just had to step away from it for about a week or so. I was so tired of looking through town reports and trying to bug Ryan. But to get back to him, he really was very helpful. He did send along the capital projects coming up, which if just for an FYI, and that's why I'm saying bless Santa's heart, fiscal year 23, there's 8,000 for, this is the Parks Curtis basketball court resurfacing. In fiscal year 24, Parks wants to renovate the skateboard complex for 20,000. That's the year.
What complex?
Well, the skateboard part of the playground. And then in fiscal year 24, also Parks wants to, at the Curtis Field, resurface the walking track for 50,000. So that brings that up to 78,000 coming down the pipe. And it's in capital projects, but Ryan made it clear. He said, these are some fairly big projects and there's going to be a lot of pressure not to take it out of budget because somebody else wants a new fire truck or something. So he was trying to say that there's probably going to go to CPC for this, I'm guessing. So I was just thrilled that the Fieldstone Farm went through. I mean, it was our term and it happened and I'm thankful. But, life goes on. Any comments? I mean, it was just kind of interesting because I wouldn't have thought to look that up. Now I'll look it up. What's coming down the pike?
Mhm.
Because that's almost $80,000 in
Yeah.
addition to the 150.
All from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I mean, the kids need playgrounds, but that's why I really appreciated Sanda sort of carrying the ball on that without.
How much do they want for that little skating rink?
20,000. Oh, not the ice skating. This is skateboard.
Oh,
He was thinking the skating rink.
I'm,
that
I'm
they-
No.
looking at that little,
Yeah, no, that
that
was,
little big skating rink
That was
they
only,
got.
was that 2,000?
yeah, it was 2,000 something, and they had to get the parts in dribs and drabs, and everybody was buying them, so the parts were hard to come by. Remember her telling us that story?
Yeah.
So anyway, and did anybody else, since you didn't do your homework, Stephanie knows, guess what road in Hubbardston is going to get $1 million worth of Mass Works strap?
What?
It's something from the state for redoing roads. $1 million. Guess what road? Just of all the roads in the world.
Root Road.
No, $1 million.
Hopefully not. We don't need anything done to Route Road. Leave it like
Okay.
it is.
Well,
Horse
it just,
racetrack.
yeah, as I was looking through the stuff, this just caught my eye. Lombard Road. Why would the state or the town want to put $1 million into Lombard Road?
Wow.
And that's, it just, I thought,
I-
go ahead.
My guess is they, for $1 million, that's not just repaving. So I'm thinking they want to make it a through road to somewhere. Because right now it's kind of a dead end with a little dirt road that follows, that goes on. When we walked that, when we were looking at Fieldstone Farm.
Lombard doesn't go through at both ends?
You have to kind of
But
take it.
I don't recall any portion of dirt on
I
Lombard.
thought it was a through road into Princeton or something.
Yeah.
Maybe we got lost. But it's,
Maybe going the other way, that could be. But when you go down by Fieldstone Farm, if I remember right, I mean, we drove down past,
No, we came all the way off of Old Westminster or Westminster, whatever it is, and all the way into Princeton, when we did our walks. Where's the dirt road?
We didn't walk up.
no,
I
We need
did.
to look at it. We'll talk about that later because nobody has a map in front of them. So
well, the term they used was reconstruct Lombard Road.
Huh.
That's the term that's in the.
Is that
capital.
something gets voted on, or is that something that just
That's a
the
good
powers to
question.
be decide?
DPW was under category of DPW. So I
This-
thought it
Okay.
was weird.
this is
All
in
right,
the
all right.
that's in the 5-year capital budget that they've published.
I can send that around again if you want to peruse it. It's kind of interesting just to have general knowledge of what's going on.
Go ahead, send that around again. I don't even recall seeing it, but that's
I'm
okay.
sure
I
nobody.
don't remember seeing it. That doesn't mean it didn't come out.
Sorry.
What, Mark?
So that I don't remember seeing it either, but
Really? And
I don't recall seeing it, but that's.
I remember getting it.
thank you,
You
Stephanie.
must
because-
just send it to your friend Steph.
Okay, well, we'll get it going again. All right. Anyway, so it's out there, but I think we're very thankful and let's start gearing up for phase 2. What do you think?
Okay, well, in conjunction with that, before we leave Fieldstone, I have a couple comments. I really liked your questions to Ryan relative to revenues coming from the state. But as it extrapolates to how you would relate that to the Fieldstone acquisition, what's the metrics? You know, I sent an email on that. So we're the total value is what, something in the $600,000-700,000 range, 275 acres, something in that range.
Well,
How-
that's a good.
There would, I would assume there'd be an increase in those revenues, but how are the revenues calculated? Even disregarding Fieldstone, how are the revenues calculated relative to the properties that are in open space, watershed lands, et cetera, et cetera. So I saw all that, and that was a lot of money. But a huge selling point would be if those increased by a certain amount as it relates to Fieldstone or any other property we would want to acquire.
Well, that's what I was after. And it's, I don't want to use the word confusing, but it's just it's spread out between local aid, 57K. Did everybody get this one?
Yeah, no, I got that and I read that, but
Yeah.
that doesn't tell me.
Because I don't have an answer.
I
I wish he had sent me, well, if DCR is purchasing the 126 acres, am I on the right track? Right, we're doing the 149 or the Cynthia is. It's DCR then, right? And it is Ware River watershed, Mark, is that accurate?
No, it's going to be
Pilot
parks.
Parks. Okay.
Yeah,
DCR Parks,
that's
not-
Sean, whatever
That's
his
not
name
the
is.
pilot.
When
But
I was,
it might use the same formula for any state-owned land.
but what I was reading was that the state determines the formula from year to year.
Oh, yeah.
And so there's nothing that I could find that's published that says, it's X amount per acre and et cetera, et cetera. They come up with a number, and how they do it, I couldn't find anywhere. The town doesn't decide that.
No, I wouldn't. I would assume whoever's providing the money decides that. So that'd be
Yeah.
the state. But
Well, so
there must be some.
What I read is
It can't change by a factor of 10. There must be some.
Maybe that could be an action item for someone to look up the formula that DCR or the state uses, because I think I had done some digging in the
Mark
pilot.
looks like he
program.
wants to say something here. So you.
I suspect it's probably not published, but I'll shoot an email off to Sean Preventure. He might well know how that all.
Somebody must know. I mean, somebody has to calculate.
Yeah, somebody knows.
But the other thing that I read when I read that it was a calculation done by the state was that it could change from year to year, even if the amount of property didn't change. So, that it was very ambiguous, and it led me to believe that the formula may change from year to year depending on who knows what.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it can't change by a factor of 10. So there must be some nominal amount that you get reimbursed. And so even if you lowballed it, it would be nice to know relative to when for the specific project we got, Fieldstone.
Which is 126 DCR additional acres, right, Mark? That would be accurate?
I don't recall.
Well,
Whatever it is west of Lombard Road there.
right,
Yeah.
on her map, she has it designated. So you'll take that on, because I felt like I've been driving Ryan nuts. I didn't want to have to go back and
No,
say,
it's just
Ryan,
relative to that reimbursement. That is only for properties, and I guess that's logical, that the state funds.
No, there are other, it's in lieu of taxes, and Fitchburg, town of Fitchburg pays us something in lieu of taxes for the land that they own to protect Mare Meadow over there, their water over there, and the
So
solar.
there's other money coming in besides
yes,
money
you can't-
Susan noted. There's money coming in from the city of Fitchburg.
Yeah, it said it
Yes.
on the email.
Yeah,
That was in Susan's email also.
yeah, so there's so many sources that you can't pinpoint exactly what DCR, you could try to work backwards. But I do not want to advertise something that's not absolutely accurate. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
How about the property that the town funds? Obviously, there's no reimbursement for that, right?
correct.
No,
Nor will there be any reimbursement for what the East Quabbin Land Trust.
Right,
well,
right.
that's what he's,
And that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay.
But, I
Well,
mean,
it's only for that smaller portion on the west side. And I think it's about right, the 120 acres.
126, and then the other portion is 149.
Okay, but it would be great to have ballpark numbers, even again, if you're talking to people, you don't want to overstate those, so you can lowball it, but there's got to be some range, and it would be nice to know when you're talking to people that you're not going to lose all any potential tax revenue out of that. Besides the avoidance of increase in taxes for facility and et cetera reasons, you're going to get an income from the state. So that turns out to be a big selling point for trying to do these kinds of acquisitions and land preservation. So
Yeah.
all right.
I'll try Sean. If he doesn't know, he can probably steer us in the right direction.
And I'll do a
That'd
little
be
more
great,
research,
Mac. That'd be great.
and then we can see if we're in the same ballpark. But when you look at it, the total that Ryan sent me comes to 434,000. That's not chicken change in the town budget.
Oh, no.
So, you know, that's
Well,
significant.
in conjunction with that, that's the income. And as this group knows, the, expansion from developments, et cetera, are net negative. But, and that can be a tough sell to some people. But if you can counter those kind of arguments that getting income from that, from other sources, that's a huge thing that people are not aware of.
So if I remember right, Susan, didn't Ryan say that the Fitchburg property and the solar property were total 50,000?
Not solar, but Mission E4.
Oh, Mission
That's
E.
the place down on
That was
Burnchurch.
20,000 they totaled.
Here in the email, he said, our other two pilots, payment in lieu of taxes, watershed protection land for Fitchburg and the payment from Mission E4 total about 20K annually.
Oh, okay.
So it's not simple, but at least we're closer than we were.
So on that basis, then it sounds like the rest of the 374 or whatever it was, $1,000 is state-owned land?
Yeah.
So Mark, do you know how much state-owned land there is in Hubbardston?
What?
Because I
That's
was
why we don't need any more.
I was thinking if we couldn't get any information on any further information on what the formula was, that even if we could come up with a rough number, if we knew the number of acres of land that the state owns in Hubbardston, and we know the payment in lieu of taxes number that the state gives us, we could do just a simple calculation and figure out what that averages per acre.
Yeah, it would give you a ballpark anyway.
Yeah. Because keep in mind, the Smiths, if I remember right from our meetings way back when, were paying $13,000 a year in taxes on that 275 acres. So, if they don't sell it to a developer who's going to build houses that are going to pay taxes, the town loses that 13,000. I'm not going to tell anybody that, but
I was ready to, and Rick said that's not a good idea.
So whatever that 126 acres is worth as payment in lieu of taxes, as Bob says, will offset some, maybe more than offset that 13,000 we're losing.
Oh, for sure.
Well, it won't more than offset it.
More than offset it, as
13,000.
well as the avoidance of expenses to town services. So.
Yeah.
It might not offset.
Yeah. Oh, really?
All right, we just need to go down that path only to the extent that's really important information as it relates to trying to put together something that's trying to convince people, which we don't really, well, we do need to convince them, because there are some people that don't need convincing, but there are a lot of people that do need convincing. So, all right.
We're basically talking about prep for town meeting.
Yeah.
town meeting or from my perspective, it's work that is done prior to town meeting. Because once people get to town meeting, if this information isn't conveyed to a reasonable number of people ahead of time, it's tough to convince a lot of people at town meeting about the right decision.
Yeah.
That's why I want to stress that this is as if we put money in the bank. It's the CPA, that's what its function is. This won't cost us, I mean, the other things are gonna have to be financed. I mean, yeah,
Well, but the point of my comment was along the lines of, as we've had talks with Cynthia, et cetera, the relative to conservation of any lands. So
Right.
this happens to be a great parcel,
Right.
but, we should plan on doing walks and communicating with other people, et cetera, so that we do get people, as many people as we can on board prior to town meeting. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
all right, I'm done. But that financial part of it is really important to a lot of people. Some people will just look at the beautiful property, the wildlife, the conservation, water protection, et cetera, the benefit to the total planet environment. But there's a lot of people that are only going to look at it from a financial viewpoint. And if we can at least come to some sort of break-even point, kind of information, or even better than that, then that'll help with those type of people. So that was my point. So
Oh,
Yeah, I'll have to check on it, but from your email, Susan, it seemed like Ryan only mentioned water supply lands. I'm not sure if we get any compensation for other state land like Hubbardston State Forest or not. Which is the
well,
that's all. That's great information. That's from an open space committee viewpoint, from my vantage point, all that stuff is really, really important because a lot of people are just so misinformed. And, I Ray Sawyer and something, there's a lot of people that just think, oh, we got too much open space. Well, why we got too much? From all the stuff that I see, all the webinars, like Joy Rio's thing and stuff like that. There was another great one on dark skies. Did you watch that one last night, Mark? Joy Rio had a great one on last night.
Oh, no, I meant to.
It was really worthwhile. I know I'm digressing from the main topic that we were just talking about, but the person that did that presentation was from the observatory in Groton, I believe. I don't know if it's right near the Groton-Pepperell line, and the ramifications from just light pollution affects humans, animals, insects, birds. It was, the guy was outstanding. It is, for those that didn't watch it, it's worth going to. Joy's things are all recorded, and you can get to any of them. That was well worth watching. There was a lot more to that. A lot of the other things, climate control and temperature and greenhouse gases and how the forests help. A lot of those things we've heard a lot about. Light pollution and what that does to the environment. It was a lot of new information to me. It was good. So,
All
all right, I'm done. Steph's looking at me. Shut up, Bob.
back on track.
All right, so we're in good shape on that CPA thing, and Fieldstone. So if we could get a little bit more on the metrics there, so Mark's got an action item, and so if we can get some more detail on that, that would help in the Fieldstone acquisition process. Any update on the Mass Trails grant stuff? I know that you submitted that and you had to increase the amount that we needed to apply for to get over a threshold. So go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically, we didn't have or we shouldn't have had to, but their online form did enforce it, that it had to be over 10,000. And in my conversation with Amanda, Amanda Lewis, she kind of suggested that they were more interested in projects that were over 10,000. So our
That
project,
was a helpful hint to an insider, said boost it up a little bit if you want to get it approved.
something like that.
And it's nice to have that kind of a relationship. So that's all in and set, and you increased a couple of things in there to get us over that 10K level. And I think we went over the matching aspect of it. So any other comments on the Mass Trails grant? No. Okay, and I think that's it for old business. For new business, I did check with Ryan on the topic of replenishing the rider account. Oh, that's not the way I phrased it to him. When we had our last meeting, we talked about getting an expense account, and he sent an email, and I'll forward that around to folks so you can see the little nits and grits that he talked about. But his comments were, we've got the Hay account, and then we've got a donation account, is what he called it, which was money from Paul Lane when he asked monies to be donated in his name to the Open Space Committee. And so he said we could, and it's an open thing. It's already a vehicle exists within the town. If we want an expense account for things in the $500 range for a smaller committee, the committees in town get somewhere in the $500 to $1,000 range for expense fees, and we can definitely get into that category. We're a smaller committee, so we would probably be looking to apply for something in the $500 a year range. Just relative to as we move forward, and I think we talked about this at the last meeting, if we have significant projects like what we did at Mount Jeff, it would be better to try and go down the road of the Hubbardson Preservation account, which we're a major contributor to and should have, if anything, first dibs on the monies that come out of that account. So that's a short synopsis of what Ryan got back to me with. So we can put in for minor expenses that would cover things like maybe paint for doing that, and any other, things in the $100, $200, $300 range category versus a more significant expenditure like doing the mowing that we did around Mount Jeff.
Bob, what's the timeline on that kind of request?
It should be coming up pretty soon. I mean, if right about now, I would think they'd be looking for people to submit their requests for budgets for committees. So that'll be coming up imminently.
Should we make that a formal motion then? That
I think it's generally more like late summer that Brian calls for those, but whatever.
Is this not before town meeting? I would have thought it would have been before town meeting, so it's in part of the budget for the upcoming town meeting. I don't disagree.
Oh no, we've already passed by the whole.
Oh, okay.
For this upcoming town meeting.
All right. So whenever that comes up, and he does send around emails asking for inputs from committees. So when that comes around, then we have not put in for that. So in the future, we will put in for that.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So that'll take care of that topic.
I wanted to add one thing to that, Bob. It would seem to me that I understand that, the expense accounts for other committees, to buy odds and ends, materials, paper, whatever. In our case, we're tasked with managing the town's open space. And that does require materials over and above a ream of paper and some printer ink. So I would think that
We might be at the high end of that spectrum.
well, yeah, that would be the case I'd make.
Yeah, no, and rightly so. Yeah, because it's not a committee that's needs printer ink and paper, et cetera, et cetera.
I
It's a
mean,
committee.
Mark's gone out a couple times to get materials that he probably hasn't asked for reimbursement for, you know, just the stuff to kill off the invasive species and
Yep.
paint to paint the borders and all the other stuff we've been doing. And those are going to be things that are going to be ongoing from year to year.
Yeah, and at this point, given the activity of this committee, which has been great, we've got some things to point to, specific things to point to, that would warrant us being up at the higher end of that $500 to $1,000 range for a committee. So even though we're maybe a quote unquote a smaller committee, or compared to, I don't know, Board of Selectmen or something, but
They've only got 3 members.
so yeah, okay, that's good rationale, and I like that, Rick. Done with that. There's been notices that I've got, and that's on my to-do list for about 4 or 5 weeks to update our go to the open meeting law training thing that everybody's supposed to do. I don't know if everybody else has done it besides me, but at any rate, I think that's a yearly activity that you're supposed to refresh.
Every 2 years.
What's that? Every 2 years?
I think it's
Thanks,
every 2
Susan. Every 2 years. So for those that haven't done that, including Bob, you can go online and update your open meeting law training. Let's see, I had something else. I got while I'm thinking about that, if I can remember that. Any other new business?
Just a point of information. One of the things on my to-do list this past month was to reach out to the Historical Commission to request their input on any of the work that we might be doing going forward over at Mount Jeff, particularly with the Gates property there. So I did send out an email to Gary Kangas and a couple other historical commission members who I had their emails for, and told them what we were about with that, with our cleanup of the property and around the foundation, and some of the thoughts we had for maintaining it going forward, and wanted to ask them for their input to make sure that we're observing anything from a historical perspective that we need to for preserving that property. And I requested that that they let me know when their next meeting is, and because I want to attend and I can explain what we're looking for and answer any questions they have.
Yeah, I saw that, Rick. That was great, which I responded to you with. And Gary referred a lot of those questions to a name that I hadn't heard before. Was some woman. Have you heard that name before? Did you see what Gary recommended?
No, I didn't. I haven't seen anything from him, but I've been out plowing, so
Okay.
I haven't had a chance to catch up on email.
All right. All right. Anybody else got any? Oh, a trivial thing. Probably not necessarily an open space thing, but people that might be interested in it. We had been working towards getting some signs from the town relative to controlling speeds on Route Road, and the Ryan is totally supportive of that, and we are going to get some speed control signs, even referencing the state law that says if you got horses on the road in front of you, that the state law says to stop until it's safe to pass or something along those lines. Maybe not the appropriate place for that kind of a thing, but it's related to open space in some sense, I guess. Any other new business?
Yeah. Todd and I met with Roger Plord on Monday about the possibility of updating the forest management plan for Mount Jeff.
Who's Roger Ford?
What was that?
Who's Roger Ford?
He's the forester that did the original forest management 15 years ago or so.
What was his name?
Plourde, Plourde.
Plourd. Okay, does he live up off of Morgan Road up that way?
No, he's on New Westminster. I think you may have met him in one of the Fieldstone Farm meetings.
Okay.
Early.
All right. So at any rate, go ahead. So
anyway, yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. Always nice to get some perspective on previous work that's been done on the properties. What was your takeaway from that, Todd?
I was impressed with him. He seems interested in doing an update of the plan, right? I'm still a little.
So he did the original plan. I just want to put this in
He
perspective.
did, yeah.
Okay.
Which actually is quite extensive. I don't know how many people have seen it besides Mark and me, but there's a lot of work went into that. And he's very knowledgeable about what's going on in the woods. So I was impressed. I think you could probably do us a favor by updating that plan.
What, excuse my ignorance. What's the context? From a high level viewpoint, what's the context of that forest management plan? Does it get into timber harvesting and things like that?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. And what are is there a general direction on timber harvesting?
Down.
Yeah, I think that's true.
It's what?
Groundhog Day. I'm losing it.
I don't know. What did you say? Doubt?
I think he said down. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's the general direction that trees fall.
Yeah.
No. Direction trees fall.
Oh.
Down.
Oh.
Does anyone hear it?
Oh,
That's the
geez.
next step. Okay, so seriously, what would be the next step in that? Would that be a consultant sort of thing then?
It is, and part of the conversation we had, these plans are eligible for reimbursement from a grant program from the state. But I really didn't have any good benchmark for how much these plans cost. And I think the answer is going to be that they cost more than I realized.
Yeah, I would guess that too.
Is there a requirement that I think if I recall, you said they had to be updated every 10 years or something like that?
They do need to be updated every 10 years, but there's nothing that really enforces that. I mean, there's nobody that's going to come knocking on our door and say, hey, you haven't renewed your forest management plan yet.
And with respect to the current forest management plan, have we as a town been doing things that were suggested or recommended or required in that plan?
Well, we did the one timber cut there at Mount Jeff that was part of the plan. there were two other potential sales that were laid out in the original plan, which we obviously have not done.
Yeah.
And may not want to do. I mean,
Yeah,
it's something that we would need to talk about. But anyway, the upshot was that he's going to give us a proposal for what it would cost to do the upgrade to the update to the plan. We're eligible for $4,200 in state reimbursement. I think that's the right number. It's about that.
to do that. Is that
But-
something you're interested in, Mac? Or is it a conflict of
You need-
interest?
You need to be a licensed forester to prepare.
Okay,
So I'll be curious to see what his proposal comes back and what his cost is to do an update on the plan. I mean, if it wasn't going to cost us a lot over the reimbursement amount, then we might want to think about it. If it's going to cost $3,000 or $4,000 more than we can get reimbursed, that's probably not worth it, I would guess.
Who controls the direction of that relative to maybe your interest in harvesting, not harvesting?
That's part of the plan preparation process. He would come to us and say, okay, what are your goals for the property? How can we implement good management practices to achieve those goals? Whether those goals are, we want to clear cut it and get maximum income from the property, or we don't want to touch it and we want to grow.
Yeah, some of the things that I've seen just relative to walking the properties and stuff out there on the that would be northwest area. It'd be the area if you're thinking about Mill Pond Trail, and then drift towards Templeton to there. So that'd be probably a little bit northwest or something. There's got to be a significant
Northwest of Pond Trail?
Yeah,
Northeast, you mean?
no, northwest, up towards where the Templeton border.
That's state forest. That's not ours.
Oh, okay. So this is only what land?
Mount Jeff, right?
About halfway up Gates Hill Trail.
Okay. And then east of that.
East of that.
Yeah. Okay. Because there's some portions, okay. And I think I'm thinking about state forest lands, like some of the lands up towards the Sawyer property. There's some, probably I wouldn't call it old growth, but there's some sections of land up, trees up in there that significant. And then if you, again, this would be state forest thing. If it's northwest of Mill Pond, so that again, that'd be state forest. There's got to be a significant moose population up in there. So Steph and I have walked that relative to a potential reroute of that trail to make it a little more amenable and maybe have more aesthetic benefit for viewers. But there's moose scat in there like I haven't seen. I mean, it's all over the place. There's got to be a significant. So some of those areas. So that's a slight offshoot. We wouldn't necessarily want to interfere with maybe some animal populations that we wouldn't want to disturb. But so that was the kind of gist of where I was going, is who directs where you're going to do harvesting and for what reasons, and et cetera, et cetera. So,
yeah. The other piece of these forest management plans was that there's a new piece called a bird habitat assessment, which I thought would be nice. I figured it was a small little add-on to a forest management plan. You know. Oh no, not the case.
It's major.
It would be a major study on its own, and
it would what?
Be a
It would-
major study.
It would
It
be
would
a
cost a lot of money to do, yeah?
Yeah,
Birds?
it's not something we could spring for.
But we could apply for a grant possibly.
It's only a small piece of what they cost. It would-
Really?
It would be like $5,000 or $6,000.
Well, have Todd do it.
Well,
Well, yeah, I mean, that's always an option.
the Cornell Bird Watch is coming up mid-February, am I right? Cornell,
Yeah, what does that have to do?
just birds. That's what it has to do with it, Rick.
All right, so at any rate, so Hydroleaf think that he's gonna give us an estimate?
He's going to give us a proposal and we'll share that and we'll decide whether we want to do anything about this or not.
Okay,
Just a quick question though, as far as wood these days, is that something where people are making money or losing money, just generally? Do you know what
What
I'm
was the
saying?
question?
The market, like when we talked to
the
Ray,
wood harvesting market,
yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to say.
I'm not sure if it's up or down at the moment.
a little bit that I've heard with from Ray
Ray?
Sawyer and, Brian? What's his name?
Height maybe? No?
No, there's another guy that,
Ryan Silky.
Ryan Silky is another guy that does wood harvesting. He's doing work down in Great Barrington right now. But the market is in sort of in a downtrend to a certain extent.
What I was thinking.
A big portion of stuff, not surprisingly, is going to cardboard. But so.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that's good that he's going to supply that to us. Anything else in the new business category? Okay. Hearing none. This has been another nice session. This is a very good committee. I'll consider a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Second?
We have a motion to adjourn from Rick and a second from Todd. Do I hear any voices to the contrary? Hearing none, then I will consider the meeting adjourned.